Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to episode number 26 in our Oxygen Not Included Redux series. I have been working on quite a few things. This is the first one I'm going to show you. It's the setup I decided to build to make the achievement for the coldest building. I have to get it down to 6 kelvins. It's a pretty simple setup, just 2 steam turbines with a steam room that is cooling down some supercoolant in a loop. And that supercoolant is heading over and it's passing by this storage bin with a radiant pipe, and it's also cooling down the steam turbines. But if we look at the temperature here, it is rapidly dropping. I had it down to almost at the point we needed, but I kept having issues because the oxygen in the room would freeze and turn into ice, ice version of oxygen, so a solid version of oxygen. And it was causing us to lose the ability to transfer any more heat. So what I did is I dropped a little bit of supercoolant down into here, and the supercoolant is now cooling down to allow the heat transfer from the radiant pipe that's behind this bin. I just put a storage bin in there because I wanted to have a building that's actually I can track the temperature. So, loop will keep running. It'll keep heating off the steam. I have the power output from the steam turbines heading out right into our grid, just because why not? So basically it's generating enough power to power itself and going back and forth. Maybe not quite as much, but I'm not worried about the power. And so this building is slowly being lowered in temperature. Once it gets down to minus 271, which is 6 kelvins, we'll get that achievement. So we can just let this sit and it'll do its thing. I'm just filling back up my little liquid lock because I've used the supercoolant here to fill up here. So, let's see, these are at 130. One more load and then I can just disable this bottle empty here. This room I had built the last time. I have a coal generator in here that is connected to the power grid. It gets coal and then it has power tune-ups done to it. So we're going to go into our achievements, take a second, and we can see how many tune-ups we've done so far. Tune-ups are finely tuned machine. So we've done 4 out of 100. So we're just starting out with it. There are duplicates coming along to do it. When it needs power. Let's see, power fuel request threshold. Put it at 100%. That way this is always burning. Again, we don't need the power from it. I just need to keep running so that people keep tuning it up. So these are both rooms where I can just let them go and they'll get the achievements eventually. This one probably sooner than the other because we're dropping quick. Hopefully this supercoolant does the trick for what I need it to do. And then we can disable this whole room. Same with this one. Once we get the achievement, we'll remove. I'm going to do this for now. Then we'll go up and take a look at the next area I'm working on. So while we wait on our achievements that we're working on down there to finish, up here we've been working on our new rocket. And we finished up all of our piping to make it ceramic so that we could continue producing hydrogen. This is almost full now. In fact, it might actually be very close. So eventually this will get to the state that this one is in. This one, the oxygen is full. We're not using any more oxygen. So no more oxygen coming in. All the oxygen got turned into liquid. And so this room is now a vacuum so that basically, when we use some oxygen and we have to refill a tank, it'll take some of the liquid out. This sensor will go off, which will allow more gas to get pumped in, and it will pretty much instantly turn into liquid oxygen because of how cold this room is. If we look at the temperatures, you can see it's a very, very cold room inside. Same thing will happen with the hydrogen, though it's going to take a little longer because hydrogen has to get a little bit cooler. But once this is filled completely, We'll continue to have the loop running so that nothing freezes in the pipes, but the hydrogen in here will become liquid, this will become a vacuum, and it'll be ready for when we need to pump more gas in. So this is all running great for us. Oh yeah, this is just when I filled the room. I'm going to suppress that error message so I don't see it. So we have our rocket here. It has 2 large fuel tanks that are filled with hydrogen and 1 oxidizer tank filled with oxygen. When I had originally built this, I had it backwards. I did 2 oxidizer, 1 fuel tank. The reason you want it this way, if we look at here, you can see that the two fuel tanks give us 1,800 kilograms of fuel, and the 1 oxidizer tank gives us 1,800 kilograms of oxidizer. So since the range is calculated based on the smaller of the 2 of those, if you have more oxidizer than you have fuel, it's not doing you any good. So you kind of want them to be the same. It doesn't matter if they're extra. You're just gonna end up with oxidizer you didn't burn, so it's a waste of space on your rocket. But so I have 1,800 kilograms of fuel and 1,800 kilograms of oxidizer, which means based on how much fuel I use per tile, we can go 32 tiles with this rocket. While we wait on those achievements to finish up, we have been working on our new rocket setup. And so, first of all, I finished the piping for our fuel station here. So, if you look on the oxygen side, the tank has completely filled up to the point where we have the loop completely saturated with oxygen. We have this completely saturated with oxygen. And so all of the gas in this room has been cooled down to the point where there's now a vacuum in here. But no more gas is allowed in because of the automation here. Look at the automation. It is... I have a shut-off down here, so it doesn't allow any more gas in. Well, if you look on the hydrogen side, this is still allowing more hydrogen in because this tank has now reached 5,000, but this sensor that goes here has not quite hit 500. It's getting really close. It's about to shut off. But once the liquid in here gets filled up to the point where it shuts off this sensor, we'll stop allowing more gas to go in, and all of this hydrogen will turn into liquid, and this will also have a vacuum. And then we'll have liquid reservoir full of both oxygen and hydrogen at demand, and then when the rocket comes back and needs to refuel, it'll pull it out, and it'll automatically start back up. So everything's working great down here. The rocket, I have it set up so that the hydrogen loops up and fills both of the fuel tanks. The oxygen loops up and fills this oxidizer. I have this pipe a little longer than I need to because originally I had got this backwards. I had 2 oxidizer tanks, 1 fuel tank. The reason we have it set up the way we do, if we look at our range remaining, we can see with 2 fuel tanks and 1 oxidizer, we have 1,800 kilograms of both. And we kind of want them to be the same because the range remaining is calculated using the smaller of those 2 numbers. So if you have 900 kilograms of fuel and then 3,600 kilograms of oxidizer, which is what I had, you're just wasting a bunch of oxidizer because once you run out of fuel, you can't go any farther anyway. So now we have 2 900 kilogram tanks of fuel and then 1 oxidizer tank. And so it will use all of it at the same time, which means if you take that 1,800 and divide it by the 56.3 kilograms you use per tile with the hydrogen rocket, you can go 32 tiles, which is what we wanted. If we look at the range on this one, we could only go 20, which means we couldn't make it to the outer rim of the galaxy. So now this is set up to do that. The inside of our rocket, I have set it up very similar to how we had before. This is okay. Actually, I think I want this to be a regular. So the setup here is very similar. I have water that goes to the bathroom. that gets pumped in, and so we use a little bit of that at a time. I don't have a tank storage in here because it'll just use what's in the pipes, and then the pipes will refill when we come back. I have 400,000 calories of food because I just have berry sludge. I didn't worry about I didn't restrict how much we put in because it never goes bad. We have 100 rad pills in the refrigerator, so we are theoretically our limit on how long this rocket can be up in the galaxy is 100 cycles before our duplicate starts to have radiation problems. The last thing I need to put in is I had removed the bed in order to finish the piping, so I just need to put that in, and I just want a regular gas vent here because it was causing issues before when I did a high pressure one, because it would create a loop and the oxalate would keep turning into oxygen, and then we'd have a high pressure environment. I don't want a high pressure environment. I want the oxygen to be very breathable and then just stay there. So we'll finish those last two up. That means we'll have a washroom here, we have a mess hall here, and we'll have a luxury barracks here. So we'll get +2 morale instead of the +1. So that's helpful. But it's enough morale for our duplicate to stay in space and guide our rocket as long as we need to. Okay, you can see this turns to a luxury barracks because the comfy bed and the size is what we need it to be. And then, of course, we have our oxalate storage bin here where the oxalate just leaks oxygen out. And then I have my setup here that I designed to take care of the carbon dioxide problem. So the bottom 2 layers of this area will get carbon dioxide because this only pulls gas from here. But any gases that build up higher than that, as soon as they get pumped in here, if it's not oxygen, it gets pumped into space from this filter here. And so the way I did that was just, I have 2 sensors, both sets of oxygen. This one has a NOT gate on it. So this one is turned on if the oxygen comes through, so it lets the oxygen back out through here. And then it keeps going, and if there's any other gas that's not oxygen, it goes through this shutoff, which allows it to go out this way and into space. Pretty simple, nothing too complicated. Very similar to what we've done before, almost exactly what we've done before. If we look at this one, it is pretty much the exact same thing. I added in a couple extra things to fix some issues. I switched the positioning of this gas pump to make it lower down, just to get a little more carbon out. I made this a luxury barracks because that's a new thing that I can do. And just change some of the positioning. And here I had the refrigerator on the power grid because I had food that can spoil. Back in our new rocket, I don't have any power going to these refrigerators because neither of these items spoil, and so they can just sit there. I just need them to be refrigerators so that I can select the filters for the food. So the only thing left before I want to take this rocket out for a ride is to get an astronaut in here. And let me refresh my memory. The crew I have here is Hayes. And then I also had another one. So let's do... Let's set Hayes on here. Hayes has been doing a good job. And we're going to remove Hayes from here. That means in here, I want to make sure that this is assigned to Hayes, that this is assigned to Hayes. And actually, let's just go and set this to crew. I don't need anything else done in it. We can get him in there. Last thing to note is that I have a cartographic module on this rocket because I want to go exploring the new areas. Once we map out the whole galaxy, we'll be able to take that off. We'll put on a cargo bay, and we can do some drilling. I wonder if... I didn't even look. The small cargo bay... It is a height of 3. Yeah, so that wouldn't work either. So we'll just wait and replace the cartographic module with our cargo bay. I don't need these 3 solar panels. I just put them in because I had the space. I was thinking maybe I could fit in a small cargo bay, but I need that power to run the filters in my spacefarer module. One other thing to note is that we do not need put in an artifact storage. Let me see if I can see where it shows it. I think it's the hydrogen engine itself. If we look at it, it has a artifact storage in it somewhere. Not sure where it shows me that, but I have the ability to store 1 artifact because of the hydrogen engine. So it's a bigger engine, but it has built-in hydrogen or artifact storage, so I can store 1 artifact while I'm out. I don't remember where I saw that. Oh, it is true. So we have everything set up here except we haven't set a destination. So let's do change our destination here, and then we're going to map out to this corner. That's 11 tiles, so we can easily do the round trip because that's 22. So we'll just set it there. Let's close our gantry. So we're ready to go. Let's double check our checklist here. We have fuel, we have everything else. Everything is good to go. He has enough food, he has enough radiation pills. Let's check to make sure. Consumables. So we have 2 things we want to check in here. I want to make sure that Hayes has the ability to eat berry sludge, because that's the only thing he's going to have. Go down at the bottom. Berry sludge. He's now allowed to eat berry sludge, and he's allowed to eat radiation pills, which means he's good to go on that. Last thing is we want to go inside here, and Hayes, you can get out of that suit because you have oxygen. All right, so let's do a launch. What I'm very curious about this is whether the heat from this hydrogen rocket is going to cause any issues with our piping. Temperature. You can see all this temperature here. I think it's okay because they're ceramic pipes. So nice if we could actually recapture some of that. Sometime in the future we might work on that. But there we go. Our rocket is on its way to explore to the outer rim. It's going to take 11 cycles, then we'll bring him back. And then probably what I will do is I will just go 1 at a time to the outer edges, and that'll get the majority of the map uncovered. And then we can do routes that will explore some more of the galaxy as we go. We found a new planetoid, Obsidiol, which is one we found when we were playing through before, but that meant that the rocket stopped. So I had to redirect it around to get it to where we were headed. Let's take a look at this planetoid just to see it again. Overseas. This is the one that is pretty much all the volcano and magma. Be interesting to get we landed here. I have to work out how we're going to do that, because we're going to have a lot of issues, heat and everything. I think what we need to work on is getting a rocket set up where we are able to land a rocket that they can work out of. But we need to work out better ways to do the setup for putting a sustainable base onto a planetoid for that. So I guess what we could do is get all the materials there that we need first, like we kind of did on Snowy All. We shot out with our, I forget what it's called now, our interplanetary launcher to launch goods over. And then we could have a rocket that drops off a duplicate in a lander, comes down and builds a landing pad for the rocket, as well as a little bit of a temporary base. And then we could explore that way. Probably be the best. As far as Obsidian goes, I'm not quite sure what else is on here. I know that there is a niobium volcano, so that's one thing we're definitely going to want to be able to get access to, but we have a ton of lava or magma on here. So we'll have to give that some thought, see what we can do with that. But for now, our rocket is continuing on its way. We have extra space, or extra range, rather, in the rocket for it to make it around. So right now it has 28 range left. It's going to take it here, so it'll have 20. It'll be able to come back around. We'll set it down this side on the way back, about towards that sector. We are getting extremely close with our building, or setup here to freeze this building. We're at 246.7. So our goal is to get all the way down to 7. We're actually so cold that we are now freezing the oxygen above this storage bin, dropping in as liquefiable oxygen, the iced oxygen. But the supercoolant is still holding up. Supercoolant will stay liquid all the way down to 273 degrees, so minus 270. You can see up here, the steam turbines are causing the oxygen to freeze. So we literally have things so cold in here that the oxygen is freezing off of what is supposed to be the hottest part of the build, well, second hottest part of the build. So it's pretty damn cold inside this room. And so we just have to wait it out to go those last few degrees, and we'll be done with that achievement. We also still have our coal generator down here running. If we look at the tooltip, you can see it has NG's tune-up. That's what we need. We need it to stay tuned up, run for a while. It's literally going to take 100 cycles to finish, because it has to have 100 tune-ups. I think actually the tune-ups may take even longer than that. Look at the tune-up lasts for 2 cycles, so it's going to take 200 cycles before this is finished, because it's got to get the tune-up, and then it's got to run for 2 cycles before it needs another tune-up. So it'll be a while, but it's in progress. $248 and counting. The other thing I have been working on while I wait for the rocket to traverse across the star map, and for that is disassembling this rocket pad. I want to have more than one rocket set up, but we moved this rocket up to this height because the heat from the steam was melting things down here, and so that's still going to be an issue. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove both of these rocket pads and rocket, and we're going to build more hydrogen-powered rockets with the setups for other things. We want to have a rocket that is here, that is our exploration rocket for now. We want to have it, this will become our one that is used for drilling, but we'll want to have multiple ones that can go out and drill at the different areas. And then on top of that, I want to be able to have one that is set up specifically to have a lander on it. What is that actually called? The module for that. Or now I forget. The rover's module. So, or no, the Trailblazer module. The rover's module deploys a rover bot to explore the planet. That's something we might want to try too. That could be good for Obsidian. We could send down a rover, and then if it causes any problems, then we lose a rover instead of a duplicate. Anyway, we want to have a Trailblazer rocket set up so that we have one for when we need it to go to new planetoids, to drop off a duplicate, to set up a new rocket platform, things like that. So we're gonna remove these first. But right now, I'm just removing all the wiring and the automation to remove the gantries. Then we'll remove the gantries, and the rocket platform will be last. And then, like I said, we'll build a whole new rocket system up here. We'll have to run new piping. In order to do that, I actually built this before to help us get this done, but I added in a second kiln into the automation to get us more ceramic, so the ceramic rebuilds faster. So now we'll be able to extend that piping without any problems. I haven't checked in on this in a while. Sweetle eggs, I'm going to take that because I want to be able to set up a Sweetle farm. But we want to send it over to Gorgani, where we're setting up farm. Let's take that Sweetle egg, put it, and then we'll work on that next. Let's check this building one last time before we call it an episode for today. We are currently at 252 degrees and dropping. Minus 252 degrees and dropping. I think 271 is the number we have to hit to get to 6 degrees Kelvin, if I did the math right. So that is not too far off, but it's going to take a little bit of time. So we'll check in on that achievement in our next episode. Where is that achievement at the top? But for now, the coldest thing we have is 10.9K, so we haven't even reached our other coldest building. It's not far to go, but it's going to take a while because it gets harder and harder, the colder and colder you go. But so we'll check in on that start of the next episode, and we'll also check in on our rocket while we move on to do something else. I think that I'm going to do a little bit of work on Gorgani in our next episode, because I just got that Sweetle egg. I want to work with our printer to try to get some more eggs so that we can get some other critter farms going on Gorgani and probably do some cleanup over there. It's been quite a while since we did anything on that side. It'd be nice to see some work get done. So, hope you enjoyed watching this episode, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.